Good morning, children. Today we are beginning with the recapitulation of Lesson 1 from First Flight, A Letter to God, written by G.L. Fuentes. Let us begin with the theme of the chapter. It's the story of a hard-working farmer, Lencho. He is expecting a good harvest this year if it rains. The rain does come, bringing a brief happiness. However, a hailstorm follows the rain, destroying all his crops. Being deeply hurt, he looks towards God. Having an unshaken faith in God, he writes a letter to him demanding 100 pesos. This amount is sufficient enough to sow his crop again. He posts it. The postman has a hearty laugh when he reads it and shows it to the postmaster. The postmaster, being a generous man, decides to help Lencho. He gives a part of his salary and collects money from the employees. He sends 70 pesos to Lencho. Lencho's happiness was momentary when he counts the money. God can't deceive him. It is the work of post office employees. He writes another letter to God asking him not to send the remaining 30 pesos by mail, as post office employees are a bunch of crooks. The lesson shows three things. Firstly, it shows Lencho's firm faith in God. His faith is rewarded through the helpers who are human beings. Secondly, it shows the utter innocence of the farmer Lencho. Thirdly, the lesson gives a message that sometimes even your generosity is not recognized. You may not get any credit for your generosity and kindness, but on the other hand, you may be misunderstood as a bunch of crooks, like Lencho thought about the post office employees. Now come to the character sketches. There are three main characters here. First is Lencho, and let us discuss the character of Lencho. Lencho was a simple man, as farmers usually are everywhere. He was a man of limited means and earned his living by farming his fields. His older sons helped him in farming activities. His wife did the same but also managed the kitchen and other household works. Lencho was highly religious, so was his wife. He had an unshaken faith in God. He believed that God always helps the people with a clear conscience. Therefore, when he lost all hopes and he and his family were on the verge of starvation, he looked towards God for help. His deep faith in God even impressed the postmaster, who decided to help him. He was strong and sturdy like an ox. Not only that, he worked day and night in the fields. Being a farmer, he had a deep knowledge about the weather, winds, and the rains of his region. He was simple-hearted. He was rustic in habits and thoughts. He was a little educated to write a letter. He shows his innocence by trying to have a correspondence with God directly. He wrote to God on the top of the envelope and posted the letter into the mailbox. While he had an unshaken faith in God, he mistrusted easily the motives of men. He could never know, and nor did he ever try to know, who had sent him those 70 pesos to help him. It is quite ironical that he abused his helpers by calling them a bunch of crooks. Now come to the character sketch of postmaster. It takes all kinds of people to make this world. The postmaster has all that is good in human thinking and behavior. He has he has a thorough understanding of a sharp, sympathetic, and sensitive mind. He knows how the mind of a God-fearing rustic like Lencho works. He is sensitive and sympathetic to human feelings. He doesn't want to break the deep faith of the writer in God. The fat and friendly postmaster had a large heart too. First, he laughed at the man who wanted to have a direct correspondence with God, but he soon became serious. After reading the letter, he was deeply moved and impressed by Lencho's faith in God. He knew that merely goodwill was not sufficient. The farmer needed financial help. So he collected a sum of 70 pesos from his employees. He also contributed a part of his salary. He did so as to keep Lencho's faith in God. He wrote a single word as signature, God. It is ironical that a simpleton like Lencho could never know his real benefactor. Nor did he ever try to know how and from whom he received those 70 pesos. Naturally, his work of charity deserved a better recognition and appreciation from the receiver. Ironically, the postmaster and his employees who had sent 70 pesos were called a bunch of crooks by Lencho. Now, come to the character of the post office employees. The post office employees, they make every effort to help Lencho. They believe that only an innocent and foolish farmer can write a letter to God. They were considerate and full of compassion. They wondered at the fate of the man who wrote that letter. But then also they contributed whatever they could for an act of charity. They couldn't collect the 100 pesos but sent only 70 pesos to Lencho. Only a single word was written as a signature, God. This shows their generosity. Now come to the ending of the chapter, which is really ironical. Let us discuss it. Lencho's faith in God was complete and unshaken. When he lost all hopes, he looked towards God for help. And he was sure that God would come to the help of a simple man of clear conscience like him. So, when he saw the money, he was not at all surprised, as he had been waiting for it. But when he counted the money, he became angry. He was sure that someone had stolen 30 pesos out of the 100 sent by God. Who could be they except the employees at the post office? Therefore, he wrote a second letter to God to send him the rest of the money immediately. He asked him not to send the money through the mail, as the post office employees were a bunch of crooks. The situation at the end becomes quite ironical. It is ironical that men who collected pesos to help Lencho were called a bunch of crooks by him. He couldn't know till the end who had really sent that money. And also, he failed to understand or recognize the generosity of his real benefactor. Thank you, children. This ends recapitulation of the chapter A Letter to God by G.L. Fuentes. Today's assignment is also based on recapitulation of the question answers from this chapter. Go through the assignment, read the question answers, and do learn them. Thank you.